All right, now that we've got our application set up, we're ready to go. It's time to roll up our sleeves and actually make something. So hopefully you're excited about this. I figured we could start off with a poster. And the reason why I want to start with a poster is, well, actually there's a couple reasons. The first is it's a rectangle. So the tools and the skills you learn in these next couple videos will hopefully apply to just about anything you want to use or create, such as a Facebook cover image, something for Pinterest, maybe something on Instagram, or a web banner, or a postcard, you name it. Just about anything you make as a graphic designer will be some form of a rectangle shape. So I figured a poster is a great place to start. Also, number two, I want to make something that teaches you these skills, but is also practical that you could actually use right away. So while I'm going to give you some assets to work with if you don't have anything, feel free to deviate and create something that's helpful for you. So maybe it's something you want to sell. You could create a for sale poster and put it up at a coffee shop. Maybe you want to promote a social cause or an event of some kind. Feel free to take these skills and make something all your own. All right, the other thing I want to do is, as we're learning some graphic design principles and elements, I also want to teach you how to use the software. So it's going to be a mashup of both skills and techniques as well as theory. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Start off by opening Photoshop. In this case, I'm just going to click on the icon on my dock to launch Photoshop. Once you have Photoshop open, it's most likely going to look like this. This is a little update just to keep this course current. So this is the screen currently, the home screen for Adobe Photoshop CC 2018. I'm going to go ahead and splice this in between the rest of this video because in the later part of this video I've got some great content to walk you through as well, but I want to make sure that you're not confused and seeing something different when you start this course. So when you get to this landing page, there's only a few things you really need to worry about. Right now we're under the Work tab, but there's also this Learn tab, and this is really helpful if you want to continue learning on your own. There's a lot of great tutorials and lessons from Photoshop, so you can click on any of these images and follow those tutorials as necessary. I'll click back on the Work tab, and really all you're going to want to worry about right now is creating a new file. So over here on the left I've got this Create New button. And it opens up the new document window. And there's a lot of great stuff hidden in here. You wouldn't think so, but if you click on any one of these tabs, let's say you want to start a new web project. I can click on this web tab, and it gives you the most common preset sizes that you could click on to get right into a project. And when I click on any one of these, you'll notice on the right-hand side, it updates the size of my document and the resolution and the color modes. All things we'll discuss very shortly. But what's even cooler, as I scroll down, you'll see there's a lot of great templates baked right into Photoshop. So if you want to start exploring other people's files and see what they've done, you can load up any of these as well. Same thing applies to art and illustration. We've got some basic default sizes, and as we scroll down, there's a lot of great things you can use to get your projects up and running. And print, photo, same thing. So what we're going to do in this section and lecture, it came out neither. What we're going to do in this lecture is we're going to create a poster. So you could start by clicking on this tabloid size. It's going to give us 11 inches wide by 17 inches tall. It sets the resolution to 300 dpi, and our color mode is currently in RGB. We're going to want to set this to CMYK before we go to press with this. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and pause this video, this update to this video, and splice it back to where I explain all of this. It'll make sense in a second, but I just want to make sure that you guys are seeing the most current updates from Adobe. All right, let's go ahead and define and talk about resolution first. So this is a term you're going to use universally no matter what application you're using, so it's important that we get this before we get too far down the road. So resolution, it's a measurement of the output quality of an image. Usually it's in terms of samples, pixels, dots, or lines per inch. The terminology varies depending on the intended output device. So for example, if we were going to talk about screen resolution, we talk about PPI, or pixels per inch. If we're going to talk about print, in this case our poster, it would be DPI, or dots per inch, basically dots of color, dots of ink on the page. So for every inch, how many dots of there? So every square inch. So in this case, 300 dots for every square inch on our paper. Often images are referred to as high resolution, or high res, or low resolution, low res. So this poster is going to be a high resolution file. It's going to have 300 dots per inch, whereas some of the web-based projects we'll do down the road will be a low res at 72 dots per inch. So if you tried to print that low res image and there's only 72 dots per inch, it's going to look really jagged and what we call pixelated, where it doesn't look smooth and the colors don't look very good. Now at a distance it might look fine, and that's actually a trick we use with banner design or bus wraps or things that have to be really, really big. If you get up really close and look at those print projects, you'll notice you can see the dots. They're actually printed low res, and the reason is because your viewing distance is so far back, your eyes actually blend those colors together. If we tried to print a high resolution file at 300 dpi and it was huge, like the size of a bus wrap, the file would be so big your computer would crash to get it out. So we use a low res file so that way it doesn't get too big, so you can print it, and then we let our eyes blend it at a distance. So hopefully that clears up resolution. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the color modes. The reason why this is important is because we have two different mediums we're working with. You're either working with screen or you're working with print, and they both handle colors very differently. So unfortunately, you're designing on a computer and it's shining light into your eyes. But when we print this, we're printing ink on a paper that is then reflecting light. So the way that the printers behave compared to your screen are going to produce different color results. So in order to achieve the closest color match from what you see on screen to what you see on print, it's important that we pay attention to what color modes we're using. All right, so the first two that I really want to talk to you about, I know there's a couple others in Photoshop here that you see in this menu, but RGB and CMYK, those are the two that you're really going to be working with the most. RGB we use for print, for screen-based projects. So it stands for red, green, and blue. And basically those are lights. If you look really close at your screen or at your TV, you'll see little LEDs shining. So you've got a red, a green, and a blue. And depending on how bright they are, if they're all on all the way, you actually get a white light. And then print, we have CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So think of that like mixing inks on a paper, or maybe finger painting or painting, right? When you mix those colors together, you can achieve different results. So for example, cyan is like a blue color, magenta is kind of like a pinkish color. When you mix them together, you get more of a purple color. So same theory applies to what you've probably learned in traditional art. So we're going to use cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, CMYK, for print projects. So while you're looking at this on Photoshop, it's going to display RGB colors because it automatically corrects that for you. But when you set it to a printer, they only have cyan, magenta, yellow, and black to print from those ink tanks. They don't have RGB colors to mix. So we need to convert the file to CMYK to get the most consistent print results. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go ahead and dive back into the project. Okay, so now that we've defined our color modes, let's go ahead and get back to this new window dialog box here and make sure our settings are correct. So we're making a print project. So just to verify, we've got our width and our height set to inches. We've got our resolution at 300. And we've got our color mode set to CMYK. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and hit OK to open up our new canvas to get started. Now before we do anything else, make sure you save this. So I'm going to go to File and hit Save As. And then let's give us a name. Typically what I'll do is call it whatever the thing is. So in this case, it's a poster. And then I might even give it the size too. So this one's going to be 11 by 17. And then when we make other sizes, I might name it 8.5 by 11 or whatever, just so it's easy to tell what I'm making right out of the gate. Make sure your format is set to Photoshop. That way you can come back and edit it later. When we're all said and done, you can export things like JPEGs or TIFFs or different file formats, but we want to leave this as a native Photoshop file so we can come back and make edits over time. Now, I've already got a folder on my desktop called Poster, and I structure my files like this. You don't have to yet. We'll talk more about this as we go, but set up your design. I've got mine in a design files folder, and I put it in a folder called PSD. So these are all of my design files that I need to make this project. My file sent is where I put things when it's ready to go and I've sent the project to print or to a client. And then my assets folder is where I collect ideas and photos and fonts and things like that. So we'll talk more about that as we go, but for right now, I'm just put this in my design files folder called PSD. I named it poster 11 by 17, and I will go ahead and hit save. Okay, this is a great place for us to push pause, and we'll go ahead and start pushing pixels around in the next video.